She sat like a statue outside courtroom 5B, clutching a beat-up envelope like it was her last breath. Her name? Amara Okoye, 24 years old, sharp, brave, and officially done playing nice. 6 months ago, she was climbing fast at Coltech Global. Now, she was the girl who dared to say no. The girl they called liar, problem, drama. But the truth? She just wouldn't sleep with her boss. It started with the door quietly shutting behind her in an empty office. A hand on her shoulder that lingered just a second too long. A voice, slick and low. "You know how much I like you, Amara." That voice belonged to Mr. Desmond Cole, 45, married, millionaire. Built an empire selling people the idea he was a hero. But behind the glass walls and clean image, he wasn't just a CEO. He was a predator. Amara stood, straightened her back, walked through the courthouse doors. She didn't show up to win. She came to tell the truth, to peel back the silence, layer by layer, until someone heard her scream. This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about power, about silence, and the price a woman pays when she chooses dignity over fear. 3 months earlier, before the headlines, before the whispers, before the war, there was just a girl. Her name was Amara Okoye. Young, hopeful, tired, but not broken. She wasn't chasing luxury now, she was chasing peace. And peace, too. Her looked like this. A steady paycheck, a roof that didn't leak, and a mama who didn't have to sell Puff Puff by the roadside anymore. She rolled out of bed in her cramped one-bedroom apartment, gave a half-smile to the cracked mirror, and adjusted her thrift store blazer like it was designer. 24. Brown skin that glowed. Tight coils pulled into a neat bun. Slim, graceful, sharp-eyed, intelligent. The kind of woman life tries to dull, but hasn't succeeded yet. Raised by a single mother, first-class business degree in hand, carrying her whole family without ever saying it out loud. She held on to her faith like it was armor, because it was. Meanwhile, across town, Mama Okoye fried snacks outside a rusted roadside kiosk, humming an old hymn, wrapped in simple Ankara, skin kissed by the sun, voice soft from years of shouting into storms. She'd raised warriors with calloused hands and a steel heart. "You look tired, my daughter. Sleep well? I'll sleep when I get you out of here." They shared a look, no words needed, just love, deep and real. Later that morning, Amara walked into Coltech Global. Shining floors, glass elevators, air thick with ambition. This wasn't just a job, it was the job. The one folks back home prayed for. And at the top of that corporate tower, Desmond Cole, 45, married, millionaire. Tall, sharp-suited, with the kind of fake charm that made people clap without thinking. Salt and pepper hair. A smile that never reached his eyes. He wasn't just in charge, he owned the room. Here, at Coltech, we don't just build products, we build people. People like Amara. Applause erupted. Amara blushed, nervous, proud, confused. It started with compliments, then came the praise. Late-night emails, private meetings. He saw her, and he wanted her. At her desk, Sammy Idem, cool, quiet, sharp as a blade, dropped off a file and leaned in with a grin. "Don't get too flattered. He only notices the ones he plans to burn out." Amara chuckled. "Relax, he's just being nice." But Sammy just raised an eyebrow and walked away. HR was a gallery of smiles and spreadsheets. Toke Adebayo sat behind the desk, calm and calculating. She knew exactly what was going on. But survival, not justice, was her job. "We're proud of your growth, Amara. Desmond speaks very highly of you." That was it, the beginning of it all. Opportunities. Dressed as blessings, but they smelled like bait. Later, Amara stood by her office window, staring down at the city. Her reflection faded, replaced by the woman she'd become, still standing, still breathing. Innocence is rarely stolen in one blow. It's chipped away smile by smile, handshake by handshake, until one day you wonder how silence ever felt like safety. In the beginning, it didn't feel wrong. It felt flattering, like after all the years of pushing and proving, the spotlight had finally found her. Desmond Cole strolled past Amara's desk, his grin polished to perfection. "Miss Okoye," he said, "great insight on that quarterly report. Keep this up, and you'll be running this place in 5 years." She looked up, flustered, but glowing, warm with pride. "Thank you, sir. That means a lot." He winked. "Call me Desmond. We're all family here." The next day, her inbox lit up with a new title: Executive Liaison. No raise, no real promotion. Just a shiny label and a direct line to Desmond's office. It started with compliments. Then came proximity. Because predators don't leap, they linger. She started bringing him coffee, feeling the brush of his hand when he corrected her grammar. He offered her rides home. It's raining. Uber prices. Air nuts. They had lunch quiet, private, nestled in some boutique hotel's corner booth. He looked at her with that slow, syrupy gaze and said, "You're different, Amara. Not like the rest. You're special." And those were the words she'd always wanted to hear. But beneath them was hunger, cold, patient, predatory. Afternoon in the elevator, just the two of them. He leaned in, close eyes gleaming. "You're really beautiful. Has anyone ever told you that?" She froze. When the doors opened, she stepped out fast, heart slamming against her chest like a warning bell, pretending she hadn't heard a thing. Back at her desk, Sammy leaned in, watching Desmond's door click shut behind him. "You know he did this to Clara, right?" Amara blinked. "Clara from finance?" "Used to be. Before she resigned." Her body stiffened. No one ever said it out loud. But the office? The office remembered. Later in HR, the air was all stiff smiles and strategic silences. Toke Adebayo sat behind the desk, unreadable and composed. "If there's ever anything uncomfortable you'd like to report, our door's always open." Amara asked quietly, "Even if it's the CEO?" There was a pause. The mask slipped for a second. "I'm sure you'll be fine," Toke said. "Desmond speaks very highly of you." That night, in the women's restroom, Amara stood before the mirror, smoothed her skirt, took a breath. Nothing had happened. Not yet. Not officially. But her body knew. Her instincts were screaming God at home. Her mother placed a hot bowl of pepper soup in front of her. "You've been quiet lately." "Everything okay at work?" Amara forced a smile, voice flat. "Fine. Just tired." She sipped the soup. It earned going down, but she said nothing. Because this is how it starts. Not with a scream, but with a shiver. Not with a slap, but a stare. And not with violence, no, with a slow, sick violation of comfort. Over and over and over again. It was a Thursday, the kind of night when even the janitors had clocked out and gone home. But Amara Okoye? She was still grinding, eyes sore, fingers dancing across her keyboard. She wasn't chasing praise, she was chasing proof. Chasing excellence. Trying to outrun the whispers, the rumors, the doubt. Trying to make herself undeniable. When she hit print and grabbed the final report, it was well past midnight. She made her way to Desmond's office, barely stifling a yawn. "Sir, the analytics are ready," she said softly. "Come in," he replied, too casual. He was perched on the edge of his desk, no blazer, sleeves rolled up, drink in hand. "Ah, Miss Okoye, burning the midnight oil again?" "I just wanted to make sure the Q2 numbers were accurate," she replied. He leaned in, the air thickening with something unspoken. "Such dedication," he said smoothly. "Honestly, I've never seen a woman quite like you." The tension crept in subtle at first, a kind you almost convince yourself to ignore. "Until you can't, why don't you sit?" he asked, motioning to the couch in the corner. Amara hesitated. He saw it, smiled. "You don't trust me?" She shifted. "It's just late, sir. I should probably." Then came the hand, firm, heavy, way too familiar. "Amara," he said slowly, "you know I could make your career. Or break it." Her breath grew shallow. She pulled her hand back, trying to stay steady. His voice dropped, snake smooth. "You've got the brains, the beauty, the ambition. We'd make a great team, a very close team." He stepped in. She stepped back. "Sir, I don't think this is appropriate," she said, voice firm. His smile turned cruel. "Oh, come on. Don't act like you didn't see this coming. I've been very patient with you." She froze, scanned the room. No cameras, no witnesses, just silence and him too close. "No one has to know," he whispered. "It'll be our secret." And just like that, this was it. The moment every woman dreads. The moment the smile turns sharp. The air turns thick. She took another step back, steady now. "Thank you for the opportunity, sir. But I came here to work. That's all I want to do." His face hardened. The fake charm burned off like mist. "Right," he said coldly. "Understood." He turned away, took a slow sip of his drink, and said nothing more. She left. The door clicked shut behind her, like a gun-cocking dot in the elevator. She stood alone, trembling. A tear pushed up, but she blinked it back, because everything had changed. Not in public, not on paper, but the power had shifted, and Desmond. Cole did not like losing control. Ding, the doors opened. Amara stepped out, heels echoing down the empty hallway like warning shots in the dark. He didn't yell. He didn't fire her. No, Desmond Cole did something worse. He made her disappear. Amara walked into the office the next day with the same quiet grace she always carried back straight. Polite nods, that steel dignity still intact. But her coworkers? They didn't smile, didn't meet her eyes. Some looked guilty, others just afraid. They didn't need the full story. They'd already heard his. At her desk, she opened her inbox and blinked. Projects? Gone? Threads? Deleted. That marketing pitch she built from scratch? Reassigned without a word. Her calendar looked like someone had cut her out with surgical precision. "What?" she whispered, heart thudding. She stormed to HR, jaw clenched. Toke sat behind the desk, cool and unreadable. "Why was I removed from the pitch meeting?" Amara asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Management believes your performance is slipping," Toke replied, rehearsed and razor-sharp. "Desmond mentioned you've seemed distracted." "That's not true," Amara snapped. "I've hit every deadline." Toke tilted her head, that fake sympathy blooming again. "You're talented, Amara, but we can't protect you if you stir up unnecessary conflict." That's how it started. Slowly, strategically, they were turning her into a ghost one Slack. Message at a time, one meeting she wasn't invited to, one cold shoulder in the break room. In whispered corners, coworkers spun a new story. She got aggressive with him, embarrassed him behind closed doors. Ungrateful. That man gave her everything. Amara heard them. Every poisoned word. She didn't respond because the walls were already talking. At the weekly team check-in, Desmond walked in glowing and untouchable. "We want excellence on this team, not drama," he said, not looking her way. Polite laughter followed. Some side eyes. She sat still, swallowing a fire that threatened to burn its way out of her throat. He was rebranding her, from rising star to unstable diva, from victim to threat-dotted lunch. Sammy slid into the seat beside her. "You okay?" He asked, voice low. "They're icing me out," she whispered. He sighed. "That's how it works. They push until you quit. Or break." "Why won't anyone say something?" she asked. "Because he writes the checks," Sammy said flatly, "and the NDAs." That night, at home, Mama Okoye stirred soup on the stove. "You're always coming home late," she said. "What's really going on in that office?" Amara's voice cracked. "Nothing. I'm just tired." Mama sat beside her, took her hand. "You don't have to fight everything alone," she said softly. "But if I say something, I'll lose the job." Mama's voice hardened. "And if you don't, you'll lose yourself." The next day, the knife twisted deeper. A formal email. HR warning. Poor communication. Negative attitude. Disrupting team culture. He was flipping the script, and the company was all too eager to believe it. On photo day, the team posed, fake smiles ready. "Let's crop tighter, just core leadership," someone said. Amara stepped back, pretending it didn't sting. Back at her desk, she typed out a resignation letter, then deleted it. She wasn't ready to give up, not yet. But the cracks were showing. That night, she walked out of the building alone. No umbrella. Just rain and silence. Her clothes soaked, her hands trembling. But she kept walking, because this wasn't just punishment, it was erasure. And Amara? She was done fading. She wasn't broken. She was going to war. Sleep had become a stranger. Peace? Just a word in old, faded belief Amara could barely remember. Her pillow was stained with thoughts she couldn't say out loud. She lay in bed, wide-eyed in the dark. No more tears, just emptiness. In the bathroom, she brushed her teeth like a machine. Bloodshot eyes, no smile. Checked her phone's 6 unread work messages. One from Sammy. "Just checking on you." She didn't reply. In the kitchen, Mama Okoye was frying plantains, humming a gospel. Tune off key, but comforting. "You haven't touched your food all week. And your eyes. Baby, are you crying again?" "No, Mama. I'm just tired. Work's been a lot." There was a pause. Then Mama said what most mothers say, only when they're sure. "Then leave." Amara blinked. "We need the money." Mama didn't flinch. "Not more than we need you." The next morning, Amara walked little Sei to school. He was bubbling with joy, chattering about goats and drawings, but she wasn't hearing him. Her mind was stuck in that cold office, the break room stairs, HR's empty smiles, Desmond's smug grin, Sammy's worried eyes, her own voice screaming. On the inside, while her face stayed blank. "Auntie, you okay?" Sei tugged her hand. "Yeah, baby." "Just thinking," she replied with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. But the thinking turned into anxiety. The anxiety? Into panic. And then her body quit on her. One morning, in the hallway at work, she collapsed. A cleaner found her, breath ragged, panic strangling her lungs. In the clinic's waiting room, she sat pale and dazed. The doctor didn't sugarcoat it. "Your blood pressure is dangerously high. You're underweight, sleep deprived. This isn't just stress. This is your body begging you to stop." "I can't," she said, desperate. "If I stop, he wins." The doctor looked her straight in the eye. "Then fight differently, or there won't be anything left of you to fight with." Later that night, Amara walked home alone. Her bag dragged behind her like a weight. She sank down onto a roadside bench under a flickering streetlight, hands shaking. She wasn't unraveling all at once, no. It was thread by thread, breath by breath. Mama appeared, quiet as a shadow, and sat beside her. No questions, just presence. You don't have to tell me what happened, she said softly. I know that look. I wore it after your father died. And again, when I learned to live without anyone protecting me. Amara's voice cracked. Mama, what if I'm not strong enough? Her mother held her tighter. Then lean, she whispered, until you are. That night, Amara curled up beside her mother, just like when she was a little girl afraid of the thunder. She wasn't fixed, but she was held. And sometimes, strength isn't about never breaking. It's about knowing who'll catch you when you do. It was supposed to be team bonding, a weekend escape. Work hard, play harder, they said. But for Amara Okoye, this wasn't a vacation. It was a trap with scented candles. The resort sparkled on the surface, sunlight bouncing off pools, name, tags clinking, drinks flowing, and laughter so forced it hurt the air. At the welcome reception, Desmond Cole raised his glass. We're a family here, a winning family. And this weekend, let's make some memories. His eyes found hers mid-toast, holding her in that slow, calculated stare. She looked away. Later that night, she unlocked her hotel room door, glanced over her shoulder, stepped inside, and exhaled like she'd been holding her breath all day. She undressed not to relax, but to release tension, to peel off the fear clinging to her skin. She locked the door, checked it twice. She'd seen the way he'd been watching her. Too long, too direct. Predators don't just prowl, they plan. Then, a knock. Amara, it's me. Open up. The voice came low. Tense, she froze. I just want to talk, he said again, louder this time. Don't be rude. Her heart raced. Another knock. Harder. She backed away, pulse thundering. Fear rewires the brain. Suddenly, even a doorknob feels like a weapon. And then click. She forgot the deadbolt. Desmond stepped inside, calm. Too calm, like a storm waiting for silence. Why are you acting like a child? He said, we're both adults here. Get out, she snapped. He laughed, cold and mocking. You know what I've done for you? How far I've gone to protect you. Get out. He grabbed her wrist. You owe me, Amara, he hissed, and then she screamed. A raw, guttural scream from the deepest part of her. Down the hallway, two guests turned. Desmond froze. He didn't expect that fire, that resistance. You're overreacting, he muttered. No one's gonna believe you. Her eyes locked with his, steel in her voice. Then let's test that theory. He glared, then slammed the door behind him. That scream, it wasn't for him. It wasn't even about him. It was for her. The next morning, the hotel buzzed with whispers. Desmond was already rewriting the script. She invited me in, he said smugly. Got emotional. You know how she's been. But Amara packed her bags. Ready? Sammy knocked gently. I heard what happened, he said. He's twisting it. But you're not crazy. I believe you. Amara looked up, her voice a whisper of defiance. That scream, it was for me. To remember I still exist. The next week, HR called her in cold and clinical. Due to multiple complaints about your recent behavior, we're terminating your employment effective immediately. She blinked, nodded. Will I be allowed to collect my things? Silence. She walked out with one box. Coworkers avoided her like she was contagious. Desmond, untouched, stood in his glass tower, watching her leave. They took her job, her peace, her name, but not her voice. Never again. Back home, Amara pulled out a dusty folder from under her bed screenshots, messages, records. Her hands didn't shake. She picked up the phone. Zainab Husseini? She said, I have a story, and I'm ready to tell it. Somewhere in the silence, her scream still echoed not with fear, but with release. Rain tapped gently against the windows of a quiet cafe, the kind of rhythm that almost lulled you into peace. But Amara wasn't here for peace. In the far corner, she sat with her hoodie pulled up, hands wrapped around a mug of cold tea. A voice recorder rested on the table like it was daring her to speak. Across from her sat Zainab Yusini calm, composed, eyes like steel. "Before you say anything," Zainab said, her voice low but firm, "you need to know you're not the first." Amara blinked, caught somewhere between shock and heartbreak. "There are others?" Her voice was tight, small. Zainab nodded. "Two, maybe more. He settles. He silences. But your voice? Your voice could break that pattern." Amara looked down at her trembling hands, then at the blinking red light. She didn't feel brave. She felt broken, exposed. But sometimes the broken ones shine the brightest. "We'll keep your identity safe," Zainab said gently. "You're in control, but I need the truth. Raw, unfiltered. When you're ready, press record." Click. The recorder blinked to life. "He touched me without permission," Amara began, her voice shaking. "He ruined my reputation. He made me believe silence was the only safe place." Then she paused, breathed, but not anymore. That night, Zainab was typing like a woman-possessed, fingers flying across the keyboard as her screen filled with fire. Headline locked in: Tech CEO accused of abuse by former employee in explosive testimony. Emails flew. Receipts were verified. Screenshots. Voice notes. A truth that couldn't be unsaid. Back in her apartment, Sammy showed up with a flash drive. "Backup of the server logs," he said quietly. "You didn't hear it from me." Amara nodded, barely whispering, "Thank you." "You're not alone anymore," he replied. "It only takes one candle to start a fire." And Amara? She was the spark. When the article dropped, the internet detonated. Phones lit up like a Christmas tree in hell pings, comments, reposts, shares. People were awake now. In the Coltech office, someone gasped out loud at their screen. Desmond stared, jaw clenched. The silence he once weaponized? Cracked. And once it cracks, it shatters. Zainab posted again, and two more women stepped forward. Still anonymous, still brave. The story was no longer Amara's alone. The narrative was shifting. And now, the whole world was watching. Back home, Amara sat on her couch still. Her phone cracked, her heart steadier. She wasn't smiling. Not wide, but she didn't need to. Because for the first time in weeks, she wasn't afraid to be seen. The story dropped at 6 a.m. By 6:12, it was trending. By 6:45, Coltech's board had called an emergency meeting. Phone screens lit up in bedrooms, bathrooms, subway cars. Headlines screamed across every app: CEO Desmond Cole accused of sexual abuse by former employee. Multiple women stepped forward. Twitter ignited. WhatsApp groups flooded. Even LinkedIn, the land of polite professionalism, caught fire. And in the center of it all, Desmond Cole standing in his cold, modern mansion, phone in hand, jaw locked, ego unraveling. He had spent decades building an empire brick by brick, but all it took was one voice, one scream, one woman who refused to stay silent. On Zainab Yusni's feed, the evidence rolled out like thunder. Screenshots, blurry audio clips, voice notes. One crackled louder than the rest, Desmond's own voice, grainy but damning. "You owe me, Amara. You know what I've done for you." Boom. And came the second woman, then a third. An anonymous blog surfaced, collecting stories from interns going back 5 years. The pattern was undeniable. In his office, Desmond slammed his laptop shut, rage simmering just beneath the surface. His wife, Ada Cole, walked in flawless, unreadable. "You told me it was gossip," she said coldly. "I moved heaven and earth for you. Now my friends are calling me in tears." "They're lying," he snapped. "They want attention." She didn't yell, didn't flinch, just turned, eyes full of quiet rage. "Maybe, but you made it believable." And with that, she left no slam, no scene. Just the sound of a door closing like a gavel. Outside Coltech, chaos bloomed. Cameras, microphones, reporters everywhere. Inside, employees kept their heads down like the floor might crack beneath them. Coltech was bleeding. Investors backed out. Clients pulled contracts. The golden brand tainted. In the boardroom, whispers turned to action. Paper shuffled. Pens scratched. Until the investigation concludes, Desmond Cole is suspended, effective immediately. He didn't protest, just straightened his cuffs and walked out like a man still pretending the crown was on his head. Meanwhile, back home, Amara sat on her couch-cracked phone in hand, body still, heart loud. A single tear slipped down her cheek. Not from joy, not from pride. This wasn't triumph, it was justice. Raw, ugly, long overdue. Zainab's message popped up. "It's happening." Sammy sent a voice note. "You did this." She had no job, no title, no paycheck. But she had her voice in. Now it was louder than his name. On TV, pundits debated, trying to catch up with the moment. Should CEOs be personally accountable? What if the allegations are false? How many more are out there? Meanwhile, in his office, Desmond packed his things. Alone. Behind him, a framed quote mocked him. "Build, lead, inspire." He scoffed and left it behind. On the street, Amara walked past a billboard that read, "Coltech Global, powering the future." She paused, looked up at it, then kept walking. Because the future? It wasn't his anymore. It never was. There was no applause, no dramatic music, just a powerful man thinking in silence. Desmond Cole sat at the defendant's table, not in a designer suit this time, just a wrinkled shirt, tired eyes, and a lawyer who wouldn't meet his gaze. Across the courtroom, Amara Okoye sat tall, shoulders back, eyes forward. There were no more tears left to shed. She wasn't there for revenge. She was there to finish what she started. The judge read the ruling like a blade. Fines, mandatory. Corporate restructuring. Desmond Cole is barred from holding any executive role for the next 10 years. Civil damages awarded to Amara Okoye and the other plaintiffs. Then the gavel dropped, but the real sentence had already landed. Let this serve as a message: silence is no longer protection, and power is not permission. Desmond lowered his head, and for the first time, he looked small. Outside the courthouse, the media swarmed like wasps flashing cameras. Flying microphones, rapid-fire questions, but Amara didn't flinch. She didn't give a statement. She didn't need to. She walked through the chaos, hand in hand, with Mama Okoye, head high, heart steady. No soundbite, no headline. Just footsteps, forward. Back at Coltech, the nameplate came down Desmond's office stripped clean. No ceremony. No farewell email. Just silence. The kind that doesn't grieve you, just forgets you. Employees passed by the space without. A glance. He wasn't dragged from power. He dissolved from it. In a modest apartment on the edge of the city, Desmond sat alone. The walls were bare. No assistants, no calls. Just him, and the silence he'd once used as a weapon. The TV played quietly for a moment, a news anchor's voice echoing through the room. And with today's ruling, the court has officially closed the landmark case seen as a major step forward for workplace harassment reform in the tech industry. He grabbed the remote, turned it off. The darkness returned. because for every woman he silenced, there was finally a sentence he couldn't outrun. 1 year later, the sun rose gently over a modest, vibrant community center. No hashtags, no trending topics. Just a line of women, some holding babies, some clutching folders, with trembling hands waiting outside. This wasn't a courtroom. This wasn't a protest. This was the real win. Inside, in a circle of mismatched chairs, a mural of bold letters stretched across the wall. Speak, safe space for women in the workplace. And in the center sat Amara Okoye, clipboard in hand, voice soft but unshakable. "I was scared too," she said, meeting every eye in the room. "I didn't think anyone would believe me. But the day I spoke, I stopped shrinking." Heads nodded, some eyes welled with tears. Others smiled. All of them were listening. Really listening. After the trial, when the headlines faded and flashes died down, Amara didn't retreat. She didn't vanish. She rebuilt, not her reputation, her purpose. She told her story on a tiny podcast, then on a local panel, sitting shoulder to shoulder with lawyers, activists, and therapists. Her name tag read, Founder Speak Initiative. During a regional TV interview, the host leaned in. "Did you ever imagine your life would look like this?" Amara smiled softly. "No, but I stopped imagining and started building." At home, Mama Okoye watched from the couch, TV light flickering across her cheeks. She wiped a tear, then chuckled through it. "That's my daughter," she said proudly, chest rising like a hymn. At the center, Sammy stood on a ladder, painting a mural, bold colors exploding across the wall. A woman breaking chains mid-stride. Amara didn't get her old job back. She didn't want it. She'd outgrown it. She had built something bigger than a paycheck, louder than a title. She had built a movement. Later that evening, Amara strolled through the park alone. No rush, no weight on her shoulders. She paused at a bench, tilted her head back, closed her eyes, smiled. She wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't afraid. She was whole. And as the sun dipped below the trees and children's laughter echoed in the distance, life moved forward, and so did she. If you're watching this, maybe it happened to you. Maybe you said no, and the world made you pay for it. Maybe they called you bitter, dramatic, difficult. Maybe they smiled while they erased you. But let me say this, from one voice to another. You are none of those things. You are brave. And brave doesn't always look like a warrior in armor. Sometimes brave is a whisper, a shaking hand, a quiet "not again." Brave is telling your truth even when your voice cracks, even when you're terrified, even when the price feels too high. Because sometimes losing everything is how you finally get free. So speak, even if your voice shakes, even if they laugh, even if they leave. Speak anyway, because your story matters. Your voice, it's powerful. And somewhere out there, another woman is holding her silence like a shield, waiting to hear someone like you say the first word. To every woman who said no and paid the price, this story, it's for you. If this story hit something deep, if it made you feel seen, if it reminded you that silence ain't the end of your story, then don't just watch. Join us. Hit that subscribe button, not for the clicks, but for the voices, for every woman still holding it in, for every truth waiting to rise. We tell real stories here, stories that matter. So subscribe, share, and stay loud with us, because this is just the beginning.